our distinguished guests and panelists. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the launch of Home of the Gorillas, an exciting innovation that is going to change gorilla conservation in Uganda as we know it. My name is Sima Chakuhede Sabiti. I will be taking you through today's program. It's going to be a short one, but we're very glad that you were able to join us this morning. We'll have 2 panel discussions as well as 2 keynote addresses. We've also got a video that we're going to be showing you shortly. But for now, it is my great pleasure to invite Terence Chobati, co-founder and COO, Home of the Gorillas, to take us through our first panel discussion.
Thank you very much, Sima. Before we start off, I would like to thank everyone for coming through and joining us today as we launch the Home of the Gorillas initiative. We don't underestimate the dedication you've taken to come and join us, and we thank you for joining us for this. But to set the scene, we're going to start off with a video, giving background to the whole initiative, why we did it, and where we are thus far.
I looked at the forest, said, my father and our ancestors used to get a livelihood. How can I get a livelihood without going there? I arrived on tourism. When we habituated the gorillas, we brought the investors to build the hotels, then there was a gap of marketing the gorillas because people would only come June, July, and August. That's how I came with David to bring in an application, My Gorilla Family.
So my co-founder, Fidelis Kanyamunyu, came to me and told me we need to do something about the gorillas in the Bwindi area. Initially, I just thought, yeah, well, we could use technology to create, more interest and visibility. The thing about gorillas is that there are 1,063 left in the world. And unfortunately, the masses out there don't know, and many don't even care. And we just felt that, technology is one way to let the world, not only know, but also get involved in the whole process of trying to save the mountain gorilla.
I think by us going for the name Home of the Gorillas, we're really looking at not just the gorillas themselves. There's the whole issue of One Health now, where we're talking about nature, environment, people, and also animals. So from that perspective, we said, let's look at it from a different point of view. How can we improve awareness of conservation issues, improve awareness of gorillas and the habitat in which they stay in, and then involve the people who stay around the Home of the Gorillas. If tourism improves, the gorillas are kept healthy, people within the community also stand to benefit through tourism, bringing out the arts and crafts, and all supplying things to the hotels within the Bwindi, and business actually starts moving. So at the end of the day, it is actually business and supported by the not-for-profit organizations. It shouldn't be the other way around, where the not-for-profit organizations are really taking the forefront. So when we start treating it as a business, I think we all stand to benefit, people around the Home of the Gorillas and the economy at large.
Aha, paka bajenye vitu gani vaikankaha bakatusigira nkako onyo niko tubonaga ubuniga tukajibona paza yo turabona abajenyi tubizeyo nkeje mikono yitu batusigiramo n'akasente tubone akasabundi tubone n'umwonyo tubone na ka uniform kabana.
As an organization and in accordance with our mission statement, we conserve in partnership with the neighboring communities for the benefit of stakeholders like Home of the Gorillas and the local communities. And the local communities are supposed to benefit from the presence of Mugahinga. No, the Home of the Gorilla initiative, we highly embrace it. Because even given the fact that we are still within the COVID-19 period and the shocks that has accompanied this period in terms of revenue generation, as an organization, our revenues, I can say they nosedived from a very big big monies, and now we are getting very, very small revenues that cannot support conservation. So, Home of Gorilla initiative comes in handy to supplement our efforts in conserving this important habitat for gorillas.
Thanks to Uganda Wildlife Authority, we actually have exclusive access to the gorillas. The rangers, the people who know the gorillas best and are with them all the time, have been trained to actually film them and collect the footage, which they do every week at the different gates. So the footage is collected, it's sent to Kampala and sent to the creative team who review it, script it, and get the voiceovers done. So it is a very detailed and quite tedious process, but it is so enjoyable. I'm always amazed when I watch the footage that is collected at just how similar to us the gorillas are.
The mere fact that all information is collected together is exciting enough for me, because I like organized information, right? But for most other people, right, the things I reckon they will enjoy will be like the videos of these little gorillas, creating like that connection with the different families, right? Because you may not be able to like trek and see all the 20 or 30 families, but from your app, just from your phone, maybe you're at home, you watch the little baby gorillas and their parents, and they're playing and they're eating. And I think that, to me, even out of a technology standpoint, right, is the most interesting part of the app.
The Home of the Gorilla Initiative is intended to let the world know the mountain gorillas, their habitats, and the people around who are actually helping us to conserve them, the staff, but also the communities. And this provides information to the world about mountain gorillas, about conservation, about the challenges Uganda Wildlife Authority is facing. And so it fits in very well with our mandate, that is to conserve the wildlife, because as the people know, there are likely to be two things. There will be more conservation happening, not only of mountain gorillas, but all wildlife and vegetation. But also it will attract people who can visit and look at the mountain gorillas and the other things that we have in Uganda that are beautiful to see. And when they visit, they pay a small fee that aggregated together provides the resources that we need to do more conservation. So the Home of a Gorilla campaign is something that we are really excited about, because we know it will provide support for us.
Thank you very much. I think this has been almost a 6.5 year journey, and for us to reach this level, I think we could possibly give them another round of applause. All right, as OMC said, we are going to have a panel discussion with two sessions. Our starting session, if I could call upon the panelists. Fidelis Kanyamunyu, thank you very much to our panelists for joining through. What we'd like to do here is have a conversation around conservation and how we've been able, how the Home of the Gorillas has been able to leverage technology to come into the conservation space. It's good to see such an initiative coming through from Home of the Gorillas team. So as a way of introduction, quick introductions from the team, just a bit background of who they are and what drew them into conservation. So starting off with
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sani Masaba. I work for Uganda Wildlife Authority as Director for Tourism and Business Development. I do have a wealth of experience in a number of areas besides conservation. And following that experience for about 15 or so years in different areas, I thought I wanted to go to work with something more natural, something that I would feel happy with, that is more relaxing and that would feel closely related to. I also come from Mount Elgon, just from the slopes of Mount Elgon, a few meters from the forest, actually 1 kilometer from the Mount Elgon National Park. And when I was a young person, I used to see people go and collect bamboo shoots and come home with them as part of their food. And I used to stay in that environment for a long time. So really, conservation should have been my first nature, but then I did something else, but I'm happy to be back. And I work as a director for tourism and annual conservation. I'm happy to be contributing to the environment that has rich biodiversity and brings in a lot of people to enjoy what we preserve for them.
Thank you very much, Mr. Masaba. Some great wealth of experience there, and the change from the oil industry to the conservation space is a welcome one indeed. Bamboo shoots are apparently actually one of our favorite food gorillas, so it's interesting to know the right place. I'll move on to Dr. Dennis, probably give us a brief background and what your passion point is.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to be part of this very exciting event. I'm Dr. Gladys Kalema Ziksoka, founder and chief executive officer of Conservation Through Public Health, which is a grassroots NGO that promotes biodiversity conservation by enabling people to coexist with gorillas and other wildlife through improving the health of the people and the animals and the livelihoods of the people. We founded CTPH based when we had disease in people which spread to the mountain gorillas. This was when I was working in the Uganda Wildlife Authority as their first veterinary doctor. And this made us realize that we also need to improve the health of the people if we're going to protect the gorillas and the other wildlife. But I got into conservation actually in secondary school, Chibuli Secondary School. I revived the Wildlife Club when I was there, and I thought that I'd always wanted to be a vet, but at that point I thought I wanted to be a vet who also works with wildlife. So my one of the first research studies I did, one was with chimps, actually starting at the zoo, in Tebe Zoo, then Budongo Forest, then Windy with gorillas. And after that, after going to Windy, I felt like I really wanted to return, and I don't think I've ever left since that time.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gladys. I'll ask David, an entrepreneur and co-founder of Home of the Gorillas, to tell us how he shifted from into conservation issues and as a passion point, what drives this.
Purely by mistake. My name is David Gonahasa. I've been an entrepreneur for quite some time. I like to create value where there is none, and I like to solve problems through technology and different solutions. I got into conservation, again, purely by mistake, because I was invited by my business partner, Mr. Kanyamunyu, and he said, let's start a mountain gorilla festival. Let's throw a party for conservation. And I thought we could do that, but also we could add to that by doing a lot more. Technology is a great foundation for engagement, and I thought it should be fun for us to try doing this. So I can say 6 years trying for conservation, now officially a conservationist. So pretty exciting times for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. Moving on to Fidelis Kanyamunyu. Fidelis is former poacher, renowned poacher, I should say, honorary member of Uganda Wildlife Authority. And I'll let him give us his background and how he got involved into conservation.
My name is Kanyamunyu Fidelis. Born from Bundi, southern state of Bundi. I was born because the forest were doing mining, doing gold mining, eating meat, eating fruits, everything. Bundi was our granary. And in a minute, it became a national park. When it became a national park, it became a no-go zone area. So we suffered hard to make sure that government established tourism. And tourism, I found it very interesting, very nice, very serving gorillas. Before that, we even went in by force, we became watchers. But I found it not necessary. I see how do you benefit from windy without going there. That's how we went into tourism. And after we have enjoyed the dollar, unfortunately came the pandemic, then we went back to zero. So that's when I was thought to have the festival, and I looked for my friend David and Terence and others. The application, that's how it came. How can market the gorillas? How people can join conservation when actual says that, yeah, and how can do the gorilla.
Fidelis, interesting that you mentioned how when that pandemic came through and you realized that you need to explore other avenues of financing conservation. How do you think the community around Guinea and Uganda can benefit from such innovation?
This innovation is very important to the extent that it took the word, many people are going to come to the mountain. And remember, the communities are now selling crafts, are dancing, guys are working in hotels. And who has mission with the adjacent communities. So this home of the gorilla, we believe, is going to tell the whole world that there are mountain gorillas and visitors who come. Two, this project, the way it was designed with the Uganda Wildlife Authority, is that 10%, some percentage of this, the money that will be generated, will go automatically to the community. So the community are eagerly waiting, and they are always friendly with the UA, they work closely with the UA, because when I look at the community around there, the land is now fragmented, the becomes more. So we're only looking at the survival through this conservation initiatives.
Thank you very much, Fidelis. I think it is always important to make sure that we involve the community that we are staying around. Therefore, the Home of the Gorillas is the name of the initiative. David, this technology has come about, and how are you leveraging technology to generate conservation difference?
The thing about technology is it has a very strong ability to reach people so far away. And the thing about the gorillas is that they're in one place, well, one area. What technology gives us is rails to be able to interest the world with conservation. Rails to be able to get someone in Costa Rica or someone in Japan or someone in Tonga to say, you know what, I'm actually interested in these animals called mountain gorillas or gorillas in general, because their DNA is very linked to human beings. So what technology just gives us is a way to get the world interested. The other thing is, human beings, like you said before, live on their phones. We're on our phone for so many minutes of every day. What if we change that from the exciting TikTok content to exciting gorilla content that's also educational, that's also fun? That means that more people can be responsible or take responsibility for the world and take responsibility to try and save a species every way they can. I think you've seen some exciting things happen on social media. For example, when the gorilla died, I think it was in the US, I forget the name. There was one gorilla went all over the place. And the funniest thing I saw was this one post on social media that said, Uganda loves this gorilla so much they put it on their money. This is the power of technology and digital networks, is that you're able to reach so many people very quickly and not only get them interested, but also get them contributing to conservation. And this really is what we want to achieve with the tech.
Thank you very much, David. I would ask Stephen Masaba to probably break down for us, how does the Home of the Gorillas initiative fit into the mandate of Uganda Wildlife Authority?
Thank you very much. The vision for Uganda Wildlife Authority is to be the global leader in wildlife conservation. And indeed, our conserving the wildlife and the protected areas that we manage, which constitute about over 10% of Uganda's land area, together with communities and stakeholders, so that the global world and Ugandans can benefit from them. Within our mandates, we do consider communities and other stakeholders as very important partners to work with, because the protected areas are actually outside the city. They are within the communities themselves. So, Home of the Gorilla project is one of those projects that we have truly identified and associated with a lot of importance, because when we met round Bob and David and yourself in the first meeting, and you explained how technology can be leveraged to reach out more people, so that they create awareness of the mountain gorillas, but also enable people to come and visit, because they have seen, and also some of them through their visitation contribute to the revenue that we need for further conservation. We thought this was a very good innovative approach. Traditionally, we have been going to events, market fairs, produce brochures, we go to TVs, but this does not produce the reach that we want. We want everybody to know how important the mountain gorilla is in Uganda. Indeed, the mountain gorillas, we have over 50% of these in Uganda. The neighboring countries have some percentage as well. This is our flagship brand, and it brings people that come to do tourism in Uganda. So perhaps the starting point as an entry point is to know whether the gorilla permits are available, and then they can come and visit the Savannah Parks and Forest Park.
Thank you very much, Stephen. Indeed, there's so much to see, so much to do around Uganda. And there's an issue of awareness, which you mentioned there. And true to that, the more we are aware of our surroundings, what we have, our natural capital, the more we'll contribute towards conserving it. Dr. Gladys, you've been involved in the conservation space for a long time, and there's a lot of not-for-profit involvement. And when people think of conservation, most of the time they are thinking of not-for-profit organizations. From an investment point of view, do you think that there's investment coming towards conservation enterprises?
Yes, a lot of the conservation world is started off through the non-profit and research, and then non-profits, but there's a big push towards sustainable financing for conservation, and tourism has been the main way to sustainably finance conservation. And you know, when tourists come, they pay money. The pandemic showed us just how much tourism has really supported conservation, because when it disappeared overnight, suddenly the communities were stuck. As Fidelis has just mentioned, they were suddenly stuck. I remember him calling me and saying, it's really bad, people have really started poaching. So poaching went up a lot, and that just showed that the money from tourism was supporting communities. Some people used to argue that it's not helping communities enough, but the pandemic showed that it is. Poaching went up in Bwindi, where the mountain gorillas are found, but even all over Uganda and all over Africa. It was the same. Colleagues from Zambia were sending me messages on WhatsApp saying, poaching is really bad here. So tourism seems to be the best way to finance conservation, and actually the Home of the Gorilla Initiative, which means you can do virtual tourism, will be a very, very good way to finance conservation. But you can also finance conservation through other enterprises, where you get some other business-related enterprises that are not dependent on tourism. The pandemic also showed that we can't just depend on people traveling to Uganda in order to protect the gorillas. You need to be able to protect them in other ways, through other business ventures. For example, we started an initiative, Gorilla Conservation Coffee, which supports the coffee farmers around the park. Even as you're trekking gorillas, you can meet the coffee farmers. So we teach them to grow good coffee, and it's sold it's bought at above market price, and sold to the tourists who visit. But during the pandemic, we were stuck because our market had gone. The money that we used to sell the coffee is what we then used to buy more coffee. So we had to look outside Uganda, to the UK, US, New Zealand, South Africa, and other countries, Kenya. And this also showed that if you can develop some enterprises with external market, for example, Right for a Woman, makes crafts. Now they're looking to export them abroad. So the virtual space is really going to help to sustain conservation.
Amazing. Thank you very much for that. Indeed, building of conservation enterprises is what we need. Sustainable businesses around conservation is what is required. David, this innovation of gorillas, you've launched My Gorilla family application. Can you tell us more? How does this work?
Thank you. So what we've done is create a way to build community. Using this application, someone can get online, view the different families in the conservation area, be able to join a family, but you may choose to join a particular family or view simply the content from all the different families. What you're able to see is daily videos, daily photographs, pictures, infographics on the quality of life. And this is done in a very organized way. It's a story. You're following a story like you would your own family. And as you do that, you can celebrate birthdays, celebrate different events that happen in the lives of those gorillas. As we've said, the gorillas are very similar to human families and human beings. It's actually ridiculously similar because you have intrigue, you have issue with extramarital affairs, you have issues with, it's very interesting. I'm sure Dr. Gladys can tell you about this. But in addition to that, we're seeing a lot of growth. What does growth look like? And it's a very important question. Today, it's the basic. You see the videos and the pictures. The next step for us is we intend to allow for gamification. You can actually play games within the application, and every time you play a game and earn points or earn coins, this money goes back to conservation. But where does it go from there? Because it keeps getting better. We're looking at launching the first real, and I call it real conservation NFT, because we want to do NFTs that are linked to actual gorillas in the forest. There are many NFTs out there that are linked to virtual animals, but what we're doing is every NFT bought is actually linked to a real gorilla. It's a limited issue, there are a limited number of gorillas, so it's not infinite, and that should be very exciting because the community's contribution will go directly towards supporting the conservation activity of a particular gorilla. So it's very exciting for us. We launched this on Android. It's available on the Play Store. You can search for My Gorilla Family and download it. It will soon be on iOS. People on iOS keep asking. We should be on iOS by the end of Feb this year. And we'll also build web applications and keep creating so much more content that people anywhere in the world can actively interact with these gorillas virtually.
So David, is this one camera following all the families, or how do you have this going on?
So we have cameras in the forest. We have different cameras with every family in the forest. So you actually are able to get very unique information. Like I said, the way the application is organized is that you're able to view an individual family or view all the different families when you want to. In addition to that, we're working with UA, and they've been very helpful, with the Uganda Wildlife Authority. They've been very helpful to be able to allow us to access some of the content that's filmed by the rangers. I should also note that we've actually spoken to CTPH, and they're willing to also go ahead and even show a different angle of the gorillas, because what's interesting is a vet goes to visit these gorillas regularly, and what they find, they look at what they eat, they look at where they sleep, and it's very interesting. And CTPH will give us another view of the gorillas, and the world will have access to this. And this is very unprecedented in terms of not just the quantity, but also the quality of content. It's like we're making the whole world responsible for conservation of these animals.
Thank you very much there, David. Fidelis, people around the community within Bwindi and Daima, are they aware of the natural capital of the continent? And what sort of businesses or initiatives would Home of the Gorillas be supporting around these two areas?
The communities have different ways of this conservation aspect. One is most of the community members are the youth, are support staff. When the people come to do the gorilla tracking, they help them, they support them, they look at their bags. So, but when gorillas are not, when tourists have not come, those are not getting it. So that's one investment. The other one is we must make sure we thank the people who built lodges within the communities. The lodges employ our communities. I personally started a small lodge when we were beginning. I found we needed many investors, and we were happy to mention the serious investors like Gorilla Heights that have come, and other lodges around the building that are employing as the home of a gorilla, meaning when we tell the world, when the app reaches the world, people will have great stuff. Then the other one is entertainment. When the guests come, it must be see the gorillas through the eyes of the people. That means of interacting.
Thank you very much. As we round off this first session, I'll probably ask Mr. Masamba to. There's a misconception that technology will block people from coming through to see the gorillas in person. From my understanding of how David explained the application, that people can actually get in and understand more about gorillas through the application. What's your view on how this application can actually improve awareness and marketability of the gorilla mountain gorilla?
I don't think there is a contradiction in the world that we are in and where we have moved, especially following the pandemic. Remember, there was restricted travel, and people still wanted to have some form of entertainment and leisure. So my gorilla family application, and it comes in handy following the challenges we have just come out of it. But even before, when people used to go and visit the gorillas, they go along with their cameras, they take pictures, some of them do actual documentaries and share. So this is actually coming in to enable people to actualize what we should have done a long time ago. This project should have started, and by now we should have exposed and created awareness of these resources and how we go about conserving it. You have seen from the discussion, gorilla conservation is quite a big task. We have people that track them every day to know their health, and if there's any challenge, we address it. And then when visitors come, we must protect them and ensure that visitors are safe. All this takes resources, and also ensure they don't go out and encounter cause problems in the community. We have heard about buffer zones. So all these activities, related activities, they do need resources, and this technology that is coming to create exposure, but also bringing resources going to help a long way in creating and supporting the conservation effort. We want to invite Ugandans and the global community to actually jump on this application that is being launched, so that you be part of the success story of conservation of mountain gorillas in Uganda.
Thank you very much, Mr. Osama. Just to close this off, I'm going to go around the panel and ask, what's your favorite gorilla family? Which one is your family? Because we are saying with this initiative, you should join the gorilla family. So it's all about families, and I'm sure you guys are now thinking of your different experiences with the different families as you interact. So to find out and to access the My Gorilla Family application, you'll find it on Google Play Store, and on Android, iOS, it will be there before the end of February. And on the internet, you'll be able to find us on www.gorilla.family, where you actually be able to access more information about the Home of the Gorillas initiative. David, I'll ask you, what's your favorite family? Which family have you joined on My Gorilla Family application?
So my favorite family would always be Shoji, because it was the first time. So
Dr. Glenn, what's your favorite family on
I like a lot of the gorilla families, but maybe the one that I've known longest is Mubare, because that was the first group to be habituated to tourism.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Dr. Gladys. Fidelis, which one is your gorilla family of choice?
My gorilla family of choice is Shwanji.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Fidelis. Stephen Masaba.
Yes, Thank you. I think I'll mention two. These are my favorite, and they are the same. Nkuringo family, after the demise of Rafiki, quickly regrouped, and they got Rafiki was the head of was the Silverback, and after that they quickly regrouped, went into a family meeting, and then coordinated themselves, and had about three aspiring Silverbacks that quickly coordinated and got one. Nyakagezi, on the other hand, is one of those groups that's amazing. In Mgahinga, one, because they actually managed to attract another family from the neighboring country that lived with it for a very long time.
Amazing. It's amazing how gorillas do not know any boundaries, and they're actually able to go across. And the aspect of them, and the aspect of them of living in families is why we're here. This is why the Home of the Gorillas has created a platform where you as well can join a particular gorilla family and follow what is going on in the gorilla families on a day-to-day basis, be part of their lives, get to understand how they live, and maybe they'll also learn from you when you actually make the visit to visit mountain gorillas. Before we actually end this panel, I would like to thank my panelists for coming through and sharing their insights towards gorilla conservation and how technology has been brought about and how partnerships and the community is also involved in all this. Thank you very much for joining us for the first session. And before we move on to the next session, I would like to share a video from one of our partners, who's Adrian Deleta. This is what he has to share with us, who has a contribution on the launch of Model.
Hello and good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where the world you are. My name is Adrian Deliker. I'm head of strategy and development at the Luke Hoffman Institute, and I've had the privilege of knowing David, Terrence, and the My Gorilla family team for some months now, as the kernel of an idea evolved into a concrete project, evolved into something that you can now download on your phone and play around with yourself. It's very exciting to be here, and I want to congratulate the team for getting this far. I've been in the conservation sector for some years, and always a little bit on the realist side of the conservation sector, meaning that I believe that climate change and biodiversity trends would not be reversed until we manage to insert quantified economic and social values of environmental loss and benefits into our balance sheets. And I'm not alone in doing this. The UN has the System for Economic and Environmental Accounting. There's the TEEB, the Economics of Ecosystems and Biodiversity. The World Bank has WAVES, the Wealth Accounting and Valuation of Ecosystem Services. In these schemes, numbers are given for how much nature is truly worth once we account for all of these economic and social benefits: clean water, clean air, health, jobs, carbon storage, and so on. Recently, economists at the IMF have estimated that the economic benefits of the great whale are $2 million for every whale, or $1 trillion globally based on populations. I still think it's imperative we do this, and I don't think that the environmental crisis will be entirely resolved without doing this. And yet, after all these years, I can't help but think that chasing that elusive value in spreadsheets, we're missing the point entirely. The question, as I see it, is not how much nature is worth in monetary terms. The question is, how much are we willing to pay, in the broad sense, to live in thriving nature? How much are we willing to sacrifice, to commit, to allocate, to devote? Nobody is suggesting, for example, that an iPhone is worth the Excel sum of its parts, or of the services it provides, or of the social status it confers, let alone a complex formula involving all of these. No, an iPhone is simply worth what people are willing to pay for it. I think the same goes for nature. It doesn't matter what a whale might be theoretically worth on paper. What really matters is, how much are we willing to pay to keep that whale thriving? Who is going to pay? And what are going to be the mechanisms whereby we pay for this? What are we collectively as humans willing to pay to conserve nature? That is the question that haunts me now. And it's also why I'm terribly excited about what David, Terrence, and My Gorilla family have done and are launching today. This is about being an intermediary between nature and people willing to pay to conserve this nature. We need new models for this. These models are going to come from bold entrepreneurs who are trying new things. We need to find the market. We need to find the consumer. We need to find the pain points and the revenue streams. We need those tools that business has in thinking about people not as donors, but as consumers. And if we start thinking in this way, we're already revolutionizing conservation. And if we think this way, we'll soon realize that people actually do care, that there is a market out there. And a lot of evidence points to this, especially in the younger generation. People care about the planet, they care about their impact, and they care about consumption. How can we ensure that they have the power to express and act on this concern? What are the models that might work? This is the future. The new generation is also seeped in technology and social media. They expect live feedback and to be empowered with their actions. They will not be content by sending $5 a month and not getting anything in return. They want to be involved. They want interaction. And technology, we can do that. We have mobile phones in the pockets of billions of people, and we have nature far away from over half of the population living in cities currently. Technology can help bridge that gap. It's not a panacea, but it certainly must be utilized to its full extent in order to develop these new models that are so necessary to address conservation. My gorilla family represents a bright future for conservation. I want to congratulate the team on getting so far already for today's launch and wish them courage, grit, and determination in the next steps. You can help them, I can help them, we can all help them by downloading and adopting and trying these new models and pushing the boundaries of conservation and empowering ourselves with the future we want. Thank you very much for being here, and I look forward to the rest of the journey.
Thank you very much there, and as we change over, I would like to call upon my the next moderator, Sima Sabiti, who is our creative director as well. Thank you very much to our panelists, and Sima will come in and introduce the next session.
Thank you very much, Terence, and to all our panelists during the first session. I would now like to invite our next group of panelists for this next conversation, which we will be talking about the My Gorilla Family Festival that will be happening in May. So without much further ado, if I may invite my panelists to make their way to the stage. So I think I would just sort of ask all of you a little bit, of course we've already heard from David, but if I could ask Lilia Jarova, what drives your
Thank you. Thanks everyone. Thanks for inviting me to be part of this today. What drives my passion for conservation? I've known conservation all my life. My family has always been nature lovers, so I learned a lot from my dad, who introduced me into nature as a young girl, always took me along into bushes, climbing hills and mountains. So for me, it started from childhood.
Okay. Elvis, maybe I can ask you, how does Silk Events end up getting involved with Home of the Gorillas?
Well, we're involved in the localities of the event. And taking part in life. Yeah, that's why we're doing this.
You are not a stranger to Uganda. You've been here several times, and obviously been involved in different events and basically giving people an experience. How is it that you think the conservation and entertainment can come together?
From my experience, and then I've been following mostly the Tortuga Festival in Florida, which is essentially the biggest wildlife conservation festival, one of the biggest in the world. And I've been following that and seeing what they've been building on that side for the past years. It's a lot exciting, with what everybody's doing right now. And then for the first time in Africa, we've seen how people are building properties around conservation, from the technological part of it to the discipline part of it. And I for one would I'm very, very new to this, and like I said, it's really exciting because when I first started, application. I was at first confused. I'm like, this is really happening. And yes, it is actually happening. And then we've consulted with the guys in Tortuga, and we're building, almost replicating what's happening there down here in Uganda, and also having conversations with guys on the continent to make this actually happen.
So David, you've already told us how you got into conservation by accident, and a little bit behind how the Home of the Gorillas came about. What can you tell us about the My Gorilla Family Festival and what people can expect when they attend?
So the My Gorilla Family application is technology, right? But it's important to not, get stuck in a virtual world. It's important for you to connect. So the first level is connect virtually, connect to a family, be part of a community that's responsible for conservation, make contributions towards the cause. But it's important for family to meet. Okay, so what we want to do is, number one, invite the world to come in and of course see the gorillas. But on the other hand, come and experience, Uganda, the beauty that it is, the warmth of the people, and be part of a great celebration of a very good conservation cause. So the Mountain Gorilla Family is a platform to connect. It's a platform where young people can come in. We are open, or we'd like the world to come, and not only the people wearing suits and ties. We're saying that everyone come in and enjoy themselves, and let's party for a good cause and get the best people in the world to be a part of it.
Lillian, if I may ask you, you recently successfully launched Explore Uganda. Congratulations. So we're all very excited about that. Normally when there are these big festivals and concerts, they do tend to be in the obvious Kampala and so on. The My Gorilla Family Festival is going to Kisoro. What is the impact of having such a festival closer to such a tourist hub?
Thanks very much. First, I would like to take this opportunity in a minute to explain about Explore Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, which is the rebranding for Destination Uganda. Explore Uganda, the Pearl of Africa is a description of what Uganda has to offer. Uganda has the depth, the range, and variety of what Africa has in this unique country. So that's what we are offering. And our brand proposition is basically the adventure of a lifetime. That's what we are offering as well in Explore Uganda, the Pearl of Africa. So with the festival, it's being closer to the site. First of all, it provides opportunity for people to explore the country. Yeah, so not having it in Entebbe, which is closest to the airport, not in Kampala, which again is just a city so congested. It gives an opportunity for people to explore what this country has, the landscape, the culture of the people as they get to travel to Windi, where the festival is going to be. So I believe that it's a great opportunity for everyone who is going to be part of this festival to actually explore more about Uganda.
Adebayo, like I said, you've worked with lots of different artists, international artists, even Ugandan artists. What is the international trend towards creating the ultimate entertainment experience, which we're looking forward to in May?
I wouldn't want to ruin this for so many people. What I'll say is, we're not treating this as Ugandan property. We're treating this as an African property. So we're trying to drive as much traffic as possible for people to actually. I'm actually surprised to see Explore Uganda, even though they were like a big brand. But that's what we were already selling to people out there. Like, you need to come explore Uganda. I was recently talking to one of the talents in Nigeria, and he said specifically that he wanted to be more in line with what everybody's doing, not just to come perform. I want to tour Uganda. I want to see what the culture looks like. I want to do this more from the scratch. So not just announcing an artist is coming to perform. He wants to be a part of the conversation from the scratch. So I'm saying from when this announcement goes live, he wants to be part of it. So we even at some point had to remove an artist to replace this artist with, because of the fact that these are the type of people that we're looking for. We want people that want to be part of it, not just take some money from us and come to perform and then leave a day or two after. You need to be a part of the process for you to even understand that for the people you're coming to entertain to also accept you They need to know that you are a part of this. You're having these conversations in real time before the event itself. For example, by the time we're saying people should start, downloading the journey to the Gorilla family, these artists, these influencers, these celebrities need to be a part of it. If not, coming down here will just be a waste.
Just coming off what Andreas just said, David, how do you think that artists or even brands can use their platforms to highlight causes such as conservation?
You know, there's very many festivals and parties that happen in Uganda and across Africa. I think the difference with what we're trying to achieve is it's parting with a cause, and a very clear cause, right? It's not just the gorillas, it's the home of the gorillas, it's the communities, it's the people who live there, it's the forest, it's what it takes as a whole. And what we are looking at is basically being able to invite, the artists, the brands, and everybody wants to be a part of this. I think it's one of those event launches, if you call it that, where you're not seeing a whole batch of corporate brands everywhere, because we want it to be a communal thing. We don't want you own this and I own that. Can we, for once, try to come together as a number of brands, as a number of people, as a number of artists to say, you know what, for once, let's do something together because of what it means to the country and to biodiversity.
I wanted to ask you in particular, when it comes to maybe let's say other sponsors or people who want to get involved with Home of the Gorillas or even with the festival itself, how can they go about doing that?
Great. So number one is visit www.gorilla.family. You can email join@gorilla.family. For any local engagements, you're able to get in touch with the team that's based locally. For global engagements, you can get in touch with Bio, who is supporting the global engagement, and he says, "Say no more." And we hope that he's able to bring the world and all these artists into this market for the festival.
Just a note for everyone, you can also follow My Gorilla Family across all social media platforms. So if you haven't done so already, please do go ahead. Now, it goes without saying that the fact that Uganda has at least 50% of the world's remaining gorillas, it's a source of great pride, but of course, great responsibility to preserve for future generations. I wanted to ask each of you who are here and who have gotten involved, if you could send out a message to not only to Ugandans but also the global conservation community about this initiative, what would it be? I think maybe I'll say something.
It's a good project, and I myself actually have been part of the Chip Islands for the last 20 years. I've been a sponsor, so this is right in my backyard. I think it's good to support such initiatives and to like the animals and take care of them like we take care of ourselves.
I'll say the call starts from home. It's call out all Ugandans to join forces with My Gorilla Family, tweet, post on Instagram, create any level of awareness, any level of support, so that the rest of the world who will be willing to support us will can see that this is coming from home and they'll be willing to join.
David, any message that you would put?
We're all conservationists, and it's important for us to care for biodiversity and what is around us, because if it goes, then we have nothing. And what defines us as Uganda, when we say the Pearl of Africa, it's the animals, the nature, the culture, and all these things. And if we don't conserve them, we have nothing. So we all need to be part of this community, take responsibility. As small as it can be, it goes towards supporting the process. So we should all, join a Gorilla Family, support Gorilla Coffee, support CTPH. As long as there's a cause, try and get on the bus. It's heading somewhere good.
Well, first I would like to say that this country is creating new and innovative ways of exploring Uganda, and this is evidenced by the Home of the Gorilla Project, My Gorilla Family.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank all our panelists for joining us this morning. And I think we can all take away from what each of them has said. It really is our responsibility not only just as Ugandans, but the world over. Because, as David said, once these glorious creatures are gone, they are gone. So thank you very much to all of you for joining us. I would now like to introduce our last keynote address, which is coming from Peter Sharon, who is from the World Wildlife Fund. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Peter Skeren. I'm representing at this event the World Wildlife Fund for Nature. I'm responsible for our Beyond Tourism program, which is geared towards finding and incubating innovative approaches and business solutions that bring sustainable finance and other benefits to people and nature conservation. It is an honor to be invited to speak to you today on the occasion of the launch of the Home of Gorillas initiative. We all know Uganda is endowed with a great diversity of animal and plant species, which form an important foundation of its economy. Among others, Uganda hosts over 50%, estimated nearly 54% of the world's remaining mountain gorilla populations, but the country is also very rich in bird species, mammals and other species. The value of this rich biodiversity cannot be overestimated. According to the 2018-2019 National State of the Environment Report, the gross returns to the national economy from biodiversity alone may be as high as $63.9 billion. Uganda's conservation sector, its network of national parks and other conservation areas, is strongly dependent on tourism as a source of income and other benefits. Tourism, in particular, is well established in Uganda and contributes extensively to the economy. Gorilla permits alone earned approximately $26 million in the 2018-19 season. The benefits derived from tourism, however, do not limit themselves to direct earnings for the nation as a whole, but also provide a very important source of benefits, jobs, income, to the population surrounding and living in conservation areas. However, while tourism is strongly recognized for its economic and livelihoods benefits, this dependency makes the sector also very vulnerable. The COVID crisis is a clear demonstration of this. The collapse of tourism has caused huge challenges. Income from the sector basically came to a standstill, which had direct implications for those organizations, such as the Uganda Wildlife Authority, that are depending on such income for their operations. Communities at the same time lost their jobs and other opportunities and were forced to look at other ways of surviving. We've seen, among other, spikes of all kinds of unsustainable illegal activities, poaching and harvesting of timber. What this tells us that there is a clear need for us to find solutions to secure sustainable long-term income and benefits from tourism that go beyond the traditional tourism dependency. With this in mind, the School of Wildlife Conservation of the Africa Leadership University, together with WWF and the Luke Hoffman Institute, jointly launched an Africa-wide innovation challenge to find solutions for beyond tourism income-generating ventures. We received over 300 applications, mostly from within Africa. Through a highly competitive selection process, 15 winners were eventually selected and entered into a business incubation process. Out of those 15, furthermore, a panel of business representatives selected a final 3 ventures as the most promising winners to be presented at the 2021 Africa Business of Conservation Conference. I'm extremely proud to stand here before you to congratulate the Home of the Gorillas team on being one of the 3 top winners of the 2021 Africa Beyond Tourism Innovation Challenge. I'm extra pleased to see how swift the team has moved its venture from idea into action. Home of Gorillas represents an innovative public-private sector partnership which, once fully operational, is expected to provide income and benefits for both conservation and surrounding communities. It does obviously not replace physical tourism, which will undoubtedly remain the mainstay of gorilla conservation in Uganda, but it will rather generate additional benefits to the sector and people. Today, with the launch of Home of the Gorillas, we recognize the work of the many actors involved in this process: the Uganda Wildlife Authority, the Roundabout Naturalist team, the communities that have supported on-the-ground operations, and many others. Obviously, there is still a long way to go until full operation, which I'm sure will know some hurdles along the way, but I'm convinced that this great team will pull it together. On that note again, I wish to congratulate the Uganda Wildlife Authority and the Roundabout Naturalist Consortium on the successful launch of the Home of Gorillas initiative. I wish at this occasion also to encourage everyone to download the application, try it out, and further spread the message. Thank you very much.
So ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of the event with that keynote speech. I'd like to thank all our panelists for joining us today. Dr. Gladys Kalema-Zibusoka, Lilia Jarova, thank you so much for being with us today. Fidelis Kanyamunyu, as always, thank you so much for being with us today, as well as Mr. Stephen Masaba from Uganda Wildlife Authority. Thank you very, very much for joining us. Adebayo Fatoba, always good to have you in the country. And of course, Elvis Sechandi from Silk Events. Thank you so much to everyone, to the team, Terence and David, as well as the team from the Concierge for making this event possible, and of course, Skies for hosting us. We look forward to seeing you in Kisoro in May, and hope that you have all downloaded the app, or told people to download the app, and check out these incredible gorillas. Thank you once again, and we will see you soon. Have a fantastic day.